and talk at the same time. We'll see how well that works.
Actually, we could just wait because I think Amir and Luigi, I think we're still waiting for you as well. Oh no, Amir, we have you. So thank you. But maybe Luigi, if you wouldn't mind doing that, and we can just kind of high level. David, you've been putting out some awesome stuff around the executive order.
Well, thank you. I didn't
realize that I posted a note, I think somewhere in Slack or somewhere, where I was like, hey, look at this sweet ZDNet article on this. And then I was like, and then I saw your thing. I was like, there's a lot of the same content. I think this is David's thing.
You know what? If people are pulling out and quoting from something I wrote, that is what an author hopes to accomplish.
Yep.
So I'm delighted. Let's see here. Yeah, one of the problems with your doodle poll is some of these things overlap other OpenSSF meetings that you may not realize.
Yeah.
So I am trying to at least attempt. I can't attend everything every time, but I'm trying to make it so that my schedule makes it possible for me to attend these things.
Yep. Yeah, that wouldn't want to like overlap TAC or something where like.
No. I can't stop you, but I can beg. Let's see here. All right. I'm, by the way, going to fill in, even though I can't make some of these days this week, just because you're really asking about the every week, not,
every other week. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because like on the 26th, I have a meeting on from 2 to 3, but that's just for the.
It's also today, so. But I'm assuming we don't want to meet again today.
That would also be my assumption.
Yeah. Cool. If folks have anything else they want to add to the agenda, now is a sweet time for that.
All right, you know what? I'm probably holding up things, so I will have to fill in the doodle poll later. Okay. I'm struggling to do two things at once, and
good.
All right. So just FYI, Michael, I'll cancel this. Yeah, you'll cancel the meaning of this sequence. Yeah. Yeah. So let's see here. I do eventually want to just note the CII audits for the security reviews. So when we
yes.
All right, so let's see here. So I guess we're going to go back to this. So David W., I suggest using watchers instead. Watching as a cost, which makes it a more valuable signal.
Yep.
No one knows what stars are supposed to be.
They're internet points. Free, no-cost internet points.
Yeah, and I acknowledge, for the Arctic thing that you had to have, I think, 10 stars, but it was just a cutoff of at least somebody cared. They weren't trying to do GitHub wasn't trying to do 20 stars is not as good as 30 stars. because we don't know that.
Yep. Does anybody object to replacing stars with watchers?
Nope.
Nope.
I think that's definitely there.
That is cool. Okay, I see what you're writing on the chaos thing. Yeah. So I attended 2 weeks ago, whatever their previous one was. I thought that was a really good group, and it was a good open, substantive conversation on lots of topics. I'm going to try to attend more regularly, but yeah, obviously, if anybody else wants to as well, I think it's just an open thing. You can join their Slack channel and all that stuff.
And their mailing list.
Yep.
Yep.
So I think they do seem to have more rigor than we are putting on metrics definitions and things like that. And I think that's totally fine. But I think we can learn from them and they can learn from us. So.
Yep, I think that's the big distinctor. The good news is the chaos folks are really big on rigor. The bad news is the chaos folks are really big on rigor. So they move a whole lot more slowly, and that has led, I think, to some people being frustrated. On the other hand, they want to be, more rigorous and thorough. You got a lot of academics, so and the rigor is not a bad thing. So
totally. Yep.
So working with each other. I think for this group, by far and away the most relevant is the risk. I guess it's really a sub-working group within them. They meet Thursdays. I usually show up to their meetings, though I'll miss this one. So people are certainly welcome to attend that too. They're at a very nascent level. I mean, they've been learning about what dependencies are and what that means and so on. So, we've been talking about measures like lib years and counting up how many dependencies there are. So that's a very early stage for that, but also definitely relevant. Related to this group, and I've made them aware of you, and hopefully, as you'll recall, I've made you aware of them. So,
yep, perfect. Yeah, I know, David. I feel like I knew this at one point, but I don't anymore. Does Chaos have a kind of a working online like kind of like we did like the metrics dashboard? Do they have the equivalent, or are they just publishing software?
Well, they have talked for a long time about posting data. They do have a little bit. If you look on their site, but what they post, I'm gonna somebody who's even more involved with them than I am probably could give a better description, but let me attempt. And if somebody has better information, I would welcome, clarifications, improvements. If you go to their site, they post some tools or links to some tools, some open source tools. And they also have a list of metrics. And this is in addition to, of course, their working groups. So for Augur and Grimoire Lab are the software that they tend to work on, and they've got some badging efforts primarily focused on D&I. There's a community health report, but their stuff tends to go in depth on a very short list of projects. Okay, so Augur tries to get a lot of data about a specific project. And I have mentioned to you before, maybe running some of that would get you some additional metrics data that could be useful. And they can grab data from lots of different sources, not only GitHub. However, if I recall correctly, it requires more effort. So they go deep but not wide. So if you're trying to find out, hey, I want to know a little bit about arbitrary open source software, at least so far that's not been, they haven't been providing. I mean, they have a metric community dashboard that might be interesting to look at, but I think that they've only done that for specific projects, not broadly.
Yeah.
Now that may have changed. Yeah, but folks at Bitergia do a lot with them. Yeah, and they have lots of cool data. If you are, I don't know which project. I think this is a measurement of a metric dashboard itself.
Have a look at Cauldron. I think it might be a bit more of what you want.
Okay. And I suspect it would be, you know what I would suggest, Michael?
Yeah.
So I interact with them a little bit. It's one of those things where I wish I had more hours in the day because I've always been interested in metrics and measuring software. I've even written some papers on the topic, but there are only so many hours in the day, it turns out.
Yep.
So what I would suggest is maybe what we do is go and snag somebody from there, come here, and tell this group what they're up to.
Yeah, totally.
Yes. And I'd be happy to I'd happy to make some mutual introductions. I have somebody particularly in mind, but there's several folks who I think would be probably good for. There's a German gentleman who I would bring in for the chaos overall, and then there's some different people who are involved specifically in the risk working group. But
do you think it might make sense to have kind of a joint, I don't know, workshop, get to know each other, a cocktail, a virtual cocktail hour between OpenSSF and Chaos?
I think it might. But here's what I would suggest. Why don't you first have, like, I was thinking of Georg Link. So I would propose invite Georg Link to the next thing and just have him explain a little bit about chaos and the other way around. And then there'll be more connections. And then when you create that virtual cocktail, I don't know. I think it could be. I think it could be more. Or the problem with virtual cocktails is you can't really have those individual conversations.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how that would work. But I think some way of getting more people to talk to each other is a good thing. It's perfectly, as you know, I've been trying to connect different groups, not so much to say, hey, don't do anything because they're doing everything. That's not my intent. It's more of a be aware of each other so each can build off other stuff, if that makes sense.
Yep, totally.
So I would propose have him come on and just give a short presentation of what chaos does. Maybe Michael, you can give him a little presentation of what this group's been doing, and then try to work out, are there ways we can cooperate more in the future? Georg Link. There we go. Oh my goodness. How do you know how to spell that name?
I'm on the Slack thing.
Okay. I mean, there's other folks who are awesome who could talk to. He's one of the people I know better. So, but he's a good egg.
Cool. Good egg. Noted.
There are probably other good eggs, but he's one I have worked with for years, and I have nothing but good things to say. He might say the same about me. I don't know.
We'll see. Actually, it looks like I will be able to make this Thursday's risk meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if he's on the risk one, but I'll be there. But other folks are welcome.
He generally is not. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay. You know what? I'm going to copy in. Into the notes about the risk meeting. Oops.
Oh, I included it here, I think.
For the risk?
I think that's I think I got the right one. Hopefully I'm going the right. Yeah, 5.
No, that's tomorrow. Oh, hey, that is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Hey,
There
what
we go.
happened? Time, what were we talking about? Time? Time keeps
You know?
advancing?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Talk to us about talk to us about chaos, and I would say my goal to explain this group, discuss ways to collaborate. I would say to potentially collaborate.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I did have one random question. Okay. And I guess on the metric dashboard, Dylan, you've been making dashboard updates. I did give you permission. Are you good now on that, or do you still need me to twiddle?
Yeah. So I'm so sorry. I didn't know I had permission. So I was.
Sorry.
I was still making local changes. No worries at all. So I can just how would I just go to metrics, just the main website, and now I can make edits if I log in with.
You know what? I think it may have expired. Let me add you again.
Oopsies. Let's see.
Ending invites, copy invite, and then.
That's so strange. I must have missed it.
That's all good.
Did it send an email? Because I feel like I would have seen.
It probably did. Here, I'm gonna post. For some reason, I can't chat with you one-on-one to send you the invite link. So.
Probably my fault. Some settings. Yeah, I kind of just went through and just did all these little tiny edits we made. The last thing that I wanted to get done yesterday, but I'll get on that today is I think we want like the best practices descriptions for like the summary aren't very there's not a whole lot of data from that, so I'm going to scrape that from Git today. And then while I'm doing that, it should be easy to grab the watchers instead of the stars, so I'll do that.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, if you're snagging descriptions about the best practices badge, happy to help. And there's also ways to link to the details from there. The best practices badge has a page that lists like the criteria and details and so on. So if you link to that, you could jump directly to some criterion.
Oh, cool.
With details and all the rest of that stuff.
Awesome.
Shall I reveal the secret URLs now?
I'll probably make the logic that like if there's a best practices description, like use that. Else, kind of just go with whatever's on Git. I think is like the about section. Is that enough? Do you guys think there's just like a very short, or do you want me to like do any kind of README parsing kind of situation to get a summary here? What do you guys think? I was wondering.
I would start simple and then see if anybody cares for anything more.
Cool.
Right. Okay. Criterion name. All right. So here's a way if you wanted to have a link to a criterion name just as a criterion in general. Actually, you know what? If you include the rationale, then you do want to require the English version.
Oh, you know what? That's so funny. Oh, I've been doing this actually for the little info, like on the top right corner of the metrics, you can like if you hover your mouse. I've been I kind of just like saw how it was. I think Mike had done a couple of these links before, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so if you work on the best practices badge, I realize we're jumping forward. After best practices and so on, if you put a language in there, it'll force that particular language. Otherwise, it'll use whatever the person's language they seem to prefer from their web browser. And normally it doesn't show details or rationale. The only challenge here is that we don't translate the rationales. It's a lot of text, and that's asking too much of our our long-suffering translators.
And
So-
web browsers are pretty good at doing web page translations. So
I'm sorry?
web browsers are pretty good at doing translations now. So
Yeah, no, that's actually not been my experience.
Oh, really?
I mean, they're. I totally agree. They're much better than a poke in the eye, but my experience with translations is if you stare at them really carefully, you can get a vague sense of what it's talking about. But I would not want to trust even a modern computer translation for if they're accurate often enough, you can be lulled into a sense of
Yes.
security that you should not be.
Yep. Nice. Dylan, you got the invite link I sent, right? I just posted in the chat.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah, cool. Okay, cool. So all that stuff will go. If that works for everybody, let's hold on. Where are we? Over here. Yeah. Okay. So CIA audits. Yeah, we should definitely add the reviews from the CII audit program. Would someone like to take point on turning that into a pull request?
I can do that.
Cool. Thank you.
Oh wow, who said that? Oh, Amir, you're awesome.
I know you guys have enough on your plate, so I'm happy to help.
Thank you so very much. I'm very busy on that NIST thing though.
Yeah.
that will end today because the deadline is today.
Only we had a time machine. Okay, awesome. So that's good. CIA best practice. Got information there. Budget. David, I don't know if you have any information on this, and I thought I saw Kay pop in, but maybe I was just maybe not. A couple weeks ago, we put in budget request for the rest of this the latter half of 2021 and 2022.
Right.
I don't know if there is a date expected by which I would know, like, are those likely to happen? Are those unlikely to happen? Are they like available now? Like, what does that kind of time frame look like?
I know the question you're asking, and I don't know the answer, but I can tell you what's going on, and maybe that will help you in some vague, general way, because I have been involved in some of this.
Cool.
Excuse me. So the quick answer is that there's multiple groups with a lot of the same people involved. In the end, it's the governing board that approves, doesn't approve, but they don't want to deal with it directly within their meetings. They want to have a proposal worked up. So there is a budgeting subcommittee whose job is to work out a budget. And they have started, although I think, they started with this highly generic template. And I'm going, why are you, don't waste your time on that. Focus on what you want to accomplish, then go back. And if you need marketing or whatever, fine. But don't create a long list of the things you might want someday. Focus on what you're trying to accomplish.
Yep.
So, and then there's a separate group called the planning group, which has been trying to work out, besides just the things that have been requested by the working groups, what in general does the OpenSSF want to actually accomplish?
Right.
That has not produced a lot yet. I had, and then with this executive order, I got thrown into suddenly a whole bunch of weird tizzies. Basically, the U.S. executive order has suddenly caused a ramp up in a whole lot of things, some of which I can talk about and some of which I can't. But I was asked by my boss's boss, Jim Zemlin, who's the president of LF, basically, David, make a proposed list of things should be done for open source software. Give me a budget, not just for the OpenSSF, but for anything. And I want the whole thing by Friday.
Nice.
That was Wednesday.
Yep.
So I did that. I busted my tail and I slept the weekend because that was a lot of work. And it was incomplete and quite rough. but hey, I started from nothing on Wednesday, so I feel bad in a broad general sense of if I'd had more time, I would have had a much better job. But I actually feel good of it gave me no time and I produced something. So there.
That's getting things done.
Getting things done. I presented it, and the main comment was, "Wow, you did a lot. Thank you, but it's kind of rough." Yeah, I knew that. You wanted it bad, you got it bad. Just on the other hand, I think what's the problem right now is there is a perceived rush to look at take things bigger and more serious. I think so. I think the budget discussion's gotten swept up in that. I had planned to present my proposal to the planning group Monday, and I was directed by my Jim Zemlin. Basically, you did a lot. It's really rough. We need a little more time. And I'm going to be the last person to argue against that. That I agree. I agree it's rough. So we're going to try to, he's going to bring in some other people to work on that while I'm working on this NIST thing, which was my other rush, must do, deadline, hurry. So basically, I'm hoping that in the near term, while I work on some other things, some of the other folks will work on some other things, and then we will be in at least a more interesting shape. But I think this is actually crazy, creating good news long term, complications short term. Basically, the EO order, U.S. executive order has made lots of complications. On the other hand, I think what I think, Michael, is that although I can't guarantee anything, right now the odds are very good that there's going to be a lot going on. The problem is I think the key is you got to get your proposals seen, and you got to have an idea.
Right. Okay.
Because there are people who have money who are looking for ideas, and there are people who have some ideas in their heads but have not necessarily written them down or created proposals. The ones who create proposals are with reasonable estimates and suggestions of what they'll actually do have an edge, a really big edge.
Okay, so that is an perfect insight, and we have 27 minutes left in this meeting. So, are there any other topics that anybody else are dying to talk about? Otherwise, what I would propose is that we spend the rest of this meeting throwing out similar ideas so that they can kind of get into the stream of being coalesced into proposals if that's what we want. But I know we've been kind of hyper focused on the metric dashboard, and maybe it's just do more with the metric dashboard and hire more people to full-time move this stuff forward. Or maybe it's other things, because as we are the identifying security threats working group, we can go far beyond kind of the dashboard.
Yeah, I don't think it's crazy to view the dashboard as that unifying force. And then the question is, what's missing on the dashboard? And that could be anything from information about known vulnerabilities and other things, maybe linking off to other. What happened?
Oh, no, I moved last.
Oh, moved to a new page. Okay. Yeah. I'm just watching data disappear from my screen. And I will say that you're already talking with the chaos folks. I've been just suddenly overwhelmed with these, the budgeting thing and the NIST thing, but also talking with the LFX Insights folks. Talk with LFX Insights folks. Integrating more info into the dashboard, and more OSS projects. So it's a true one-stop, one-stop shop. Known links to other sources of info, known vulnerabilities. Reproducibility is another one. Other
Yep.
other metrics.
Sounds good. I see Luigi and Adrian have your hands up. I don't know who went first, but the floor is yours.
Hey, this is Adrian. One thing I wanted to talk about related to this, and also what we were talking about before with watches versus starers, is a piece of information I found very useful for trying to find at-risk packages or packages that may be typo squats or something similar, is the behavior of the users who are starring a thing or watching a thing. So there's, in the same manner that we're collecting metadata about repositories, the same style of metadata exists about the user accounts. And I've noticed that you can use this data to identify when someone is like starring up a project in order to make it appear to be more official than another.
Ooh.
But I've not found a tool that I can link you that does this, like, you know, in the same way that chaos works. Things are a little bit more primitive than that. But I was proposing, like, does anyone else think that this sounds like interesting way to enrich that data point of information about, say, account age or, you know, that sort of thing about the people who are actually voting up the project to get a better picture of who's doing it and why, maybe.
Related to type squatting, I have tried to create a fake GitHub account using similar name to important companies. And I mean, I don't think that people have used a similar technique to hack a third-party package or try to do a supply chain attack, but I think it is, I don't know if it is possible, but I mean, is the author name a critical field to evaluate a third-party package, or it is based only on the package's name? I think about Golang, for example, about Golang, where the developers adding third-party packages using GitHub directly, and I don't know if it can be a problem, but I mean, I am curious about this, about type squatting techniques to try to do supply chain attack. So
cool.
It's only related to type squatting. Sorry.
Yes. So for typo squatting, I've had some conversations. It looks like so we open sourced. Where is it? A bunch of techniques, and I'm not claiming that these are the only techniques or that they're the best or anything like that. I'll just do that here. And we've kind of written that in the form of the detector for it. And anecdotally, some of the package managers are starting to use it, or they've taken the concepts and ported them into their system and are getting pretty good results. So we're going to try to continue iterating on that. But I think the important thing there is that, we've done thinking like, well, yes, it's homoglyphs and things like that, but it's also keyboard distance and it's prefix and suffix. And I believe that there's another tool out there that I came across that has some similar ones. I think we ported some of those rules in. Yeah, that's one thing. But I like the idea of the spam. So it looks like on that side, just to kind of show like what it would look like, for GitHub, obviously, for a particular project, you can get, I think subscribers equals watchers. So the subscribers is a list of people or accounts, and for that account, you can then pull up all the things that that account subscribes to. So in theory, if you want to know if this project is, spammy, whatever, you see this, and then perhaps there's a pattern in how like all of these logins only have ever starred one project.
Yeah. I put some screenshots in the chat from the Supreme Backdoor Factory report that show like someone identified a network of just accounts that all got created at about the same time, and then like seeing one project they had starred basically rippled through, and you could see all of the other projects that they starred, and all of them were dodgy. All of them were bad.
Yeah, nice.
And so I've been trying to do this myself with a few things, and I found 7 typo squatter packages in like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
With this technique, just once I pulled on one thread, then like more just came.
Nice. I love it.
Okay, well, it sounds like something I will put some more time into and come back to you with some more. But yeah, if anyone knows of a project that's like further along that's doing this, I will gladly look and see if there's anything we can do to like enrich our, detection technique on like this particular health metric, so to speak.
Yeah. I think it's a good point, Adrian, and anything to make the quality of the data or the metrics, better than all these other tools that are doing it, I think will only help us. So kind of thinking of those things that maybe not everyone else is thinking of, like the behavior and things like that. I think it's a great point. So
I think there are also, I've heard of maybe a dozen of these that have kind of, they're I don't know if they've graduated from like the research stage to like the applied stage, but using ML to kind of gather all of the behaviors and then just building a model to detect the bad ones. And in some cases, it'll be typo squatting, and it'll be spam. It'll be these kind of star farms. But there's a lot of data, and people have tried using ML. I'm not sure how effective it's been, but
an example of this I could give is I looked at the recent PHP backdoor attempt and I tried to build a model off of that, and I actually sent it to Michael Varisek, who discovered the backdoor in that commit on March 26th, and he agreed that what the model was detecting on was the thing that like made him suspicious about the commit before he even looked at it and saw that the code was bad, right?
Nice.
So just like using available metadata, like I think some of these things are really, really close, but I haven't had the opportunity to scale it up to just like tens of thousands of repositories to look like, for the number of false positives. But yeah, like this kind of stuff seems to be working, and at least there's structured data available to do it.
Yeah. Awesome. If you come across things where you're limited by compute or whatever, like if it's the kind of things, we some resources are easier to muster than others. Time and people are the hardest ones, but happy to help where we can.
Yeah, great. It's just nice to have someone to bounce the ideas off. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, yeah. So I guess in terms of this, it probably would be good, and we probably should have done this earlier, but coming out with I don't want to call it a project plan, but at least getting everything into GitHub issues so that we can start like chopping them down and getting to things, because we talk about a lot of good ideas, but like lib years, well, what does that actually look like? Well, we need to do X, Y, and Z to get lib years, but are we tracking that? So I would say by the next time we meet, I will put in some a couple hours into kind of fleshing that out and making sure that our backlog is still relevant and all that. What I'm really hoping is that, as we can articulate that in such a way that we get budget, and therefore we can have someone that's there like 40 hours a week is like churning through that. Let's see. What else? What else do you folks think we should focus on and whatnot?
Maybe this is working with some of our inputs, but adding more projects. I mean, I don't think that 100K. I mean, that's just from your input source. I don't know of anything that particularly limits us to do that. The last count I had, we have something like 3 million. Don't quote me on the exact number. You can find it, but years ago we estimated about 3 million active open source projects. So if you can scale up by about 30, you'll capture almost all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. There's no reason why we can't. Yeah, it's basically.
And that would be a big distinctor of this versus many other groups, which I'm not saying that necessarily you capture all the metrics on all these projects, because some of these, particularly some of the more difficult ones, maybe you just say, I don't have that data, but having some data on everything would be a pretty big deal.
Yep. Agreed.
At least all the GitHub ones. And I realize that doesn't cover some others, although maybe we can.
I mean,
actually, volunteer for more.
Everything in. I mean, if you look at just the relative size of the different ecosystems, so this last column is the size. So really, if we tackled NPM and Maven, and then
I would add PyPy at least as well.
How was PyPy? Oh yeah,
PyPI.
Yeah, PyPy. Yeah. Wow, PyPy and PHP are like neck and neck. Yeah, I think that would be good. And actually, a lot of these, it's relatively easy to get to the metadata, which I guess I'll plug again.
By the way, at least the last numbers I saw, PHP powers like 40% of all websites, because like WordPress is 1/3.
Yeah. Right.
So it's not terribly surprising. PHP is a lot.
Yes. Yep. And actually, what's interesting is that this doesn't. This number probably does not include the WordPress plugin ecosystem, which is probably comparably sized to these. That ecosystem is huge.
Yeah, we probably ought, they actually don't include a number of ecosystems. Probably ought to. It would be cool to get. I don't know who runs module counts. First of all, HTTPS would be awesome for these guys. But there are actually several ecosystems that they don't include here. Yeah. There's also QLang if you ever deal with Common Lisp. So that's not. I mean, not QLang. What is it? Anyway, there's a Common Lisp one. So I mean, there are ecosystems not listed here.
Yeah. Yep. But so as far as how can we expand out to get more data, one of the things we wanted to do was to generalize, give me all the metadata known about a package in a normalized form so I can compare apples to apples. So we did this for NPM, but if you do it for one, it's actually not making anything better. But we're planning to extend this out to the other ecosystems. So you just get back. I mean, it's just it's normalized JSON format of the stuff. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the idea would be then now we can run this against everything in NPM and then everything in NuGet and PyPy and everything else, and then dump that into the database and now have something structured without having to write a different parser for each one. But if we just wanted to start with NPM, I mean, a lot of the ecosystems, it's pretty easy to get to the metadata. So,
well, if they supply it, there's the challenge. But they'll generally supply at least basics like URLs and so on. Obviously names, but typically the URL, the source URLs and stuff.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Sorry, completely random tangent. I had a chat with the folks that run Project Aura.
Okay.
This is a project. It's a static analyzer for Python, where what they've done was they have a bunch of rules and they ran it across the entire Python ecosystem, and now they have all the results. So some of the results, some of them are interesting, some of them are a little noisy, but it got me thinking, like, what role we would play in, like, I don't know that we want to be like the dashboard with actual vulnerabilities in it versus the count and links to places where one might find such vulnerabilities, or if that's now kind of too sharp of a knife that we're putting out there and people will hurt themselves, or attackers.
If they're already public, it's too late. I think the correct line to draw is if they're not public, then being more cautious makes sense. Now this is static analysis, so they can obviously report on potential vulnerabilities. Now I'll tell you where. Okay, you don't have to agree with this, but I can tell you where at least the U.S. Department of Defense ended up going on this particular track, because they have this. And I've forgotten the exact terminology now because it was kind of convoluted. But basically, it's not so forgotten, is it? It's not that I've forgotten it. I know what it is. They would often refer to weaknesses or findings which are not the same as vulnerabilities, because typically what happens, particularly with fuzz testing, but really also with static analysis, when you turn up the knobs, not every finding is actually a vulnerability. And so their view was a finding found from using a public tool, especially if the tool program being analyzed as public, is not an issue. The issue is when you determine that, in fact, it's a real vulnerability and it's exploitable.
I think that's a good distinction, except that if the rest of you are the ecosystem and one of you publishes the tool and the other one runs another public tool against it and finds a finding and doesn't triage it, and I'm the bad guy, and in my house you
do the triage.
I do triage. Now all of a sudden it becomes a vulnerability. So it's like spooky action at a distance here, where now I've just turned your finding into a vulnerability without informing.
To be fair, it's nothing they couldn't do already.
Absolutely.
Now, if you're going to argue there is a difference when you make things easy, that is also true. And I don't have a simple answer for that.
Yeah.
Because I think what we really need to do is help the developers who are writing the code. Hey, you've got a vulnerability, go find it. Right. I think, though, that for us here, what I would rather do is focus more on either static analysis that just suggests that there may or may not be an issue, and also focus on known vulnerabilities. Hey, go fix that. Where, there's no question about whether or not it's a vulnerability. Everybody knows it's a vulnerability. Please update now.
Yeah.
And in that case, what you're really trying to do is you're just trying to help somebody who has an old version of X, and you're telling them, you got a vulnerability. Go patch.
Yep. Cool. I like it. I like that.
Yeah. But I think at least the way this metrics tool is kind of shaping up, and I would love to hear like the Chaos's view, because Chaos has both here's some specific metrics, and they have some tools. But I think what focus is different here is that you've been trying to capture a large swathe, and that is different. The closest I can think of is was it Black Duck's Open Hub?
Yeah.
But Open Hub, it didn't really cover everything either, and I'm not sure it's as active as it used to be.
Yeah.
Have I danced that well?
Yes, perfectly. Yeah, I think honestly, I mean, I think there were a couple of others like it. I always get nervous when it's backed by a commercial org, because it feels like as soon as it gets really good, it's going to go commercial, or the really good stuff will only be available to customers. And I could be completely wrong, and I'm sorry to like the universe who feels insulted by that. Having it be clearly open source maintained, of course, that requires dollars. So,
yep,
that's hard. Yeah,
and in fact, I think one of the problems is OpenHub itself. I don't think brought in money. So if you're a commercial organization, that's it's hard to pitch.
Yeah.
I don't know if they viewed it as a an advertisement. How's this? I can see. I don't agree with you that a commercial org can't do it.
Yeah.
But it is true that if there's no clear separate, why would the commercial company keep doing that? Why would a commercial org keep doing it? It doesn't make sense for a commercial company to just do things all by itself that are helpful but have no help to them.
Yeah.
There needs to be a, what is it called? With them? What's in it for me?
Yep.
And it could be advertising, which is perfectly valid.
Yep.
But there, for anybody there, if they're going to pay for it, there needs to be some reason why they're paying for it.
Agreed. Awesome. Anything else for today? Wonderful. Then, yeah. So for folks that joined in the middle, there is a link to the doodle. Please, here, I'll copy this again. Please fill out this doodle so we can find a meeting time for everybody. Please, please try your very, very, very best to do it today, so that I can cancel the meeting tomorrow and get us on a more consistent meeting time that works better for everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Cheers.
Bye.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.